Hey, this is Rick from The Lion's Daughter. Check out our new record, Skin Show, that's available right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time on the channel, hit subscribe right now. The Lion's Daughter brings a very cool mix of both sludgy stoner, heavy metal, aggressive extreme metal, but then also an 80s touch full of neon and keyboards and a lot of atmosphere. Their latest album, Skin Show, is getting a lot of attention, and I sat down with singer and guitar player Rick to learn all about it. So, hey Rick, thank you so much for your time today. The album's out for 2 weeks now, almost, when we're recording this. You had to give me metal session, you've done live streams. It's been pretty wild ride, I think, this release so far for you. How's it going?
Good, man. It's been a trip seeing this record as many places as it is right now, and as many people talking about it as they are. It's definitely the most well-received thing that this band has done, surprisingly, because I always expect the backlash with every record. But it's been awesome, man. So thanks for having me here to talk to you.
From a lyrical perspective, this seems to be a lot more introspective and more personal. Is that a right interpretation, or how should we look at the messages of the album?
It's a wrong interpretation, but I get where you're coming from. I have no personal connection to these lyrics at all. They're not autobiographical. They have nothing to do with me, thank God.
We would have to call the cops in some cases if that was the case.
You would. You'd pick me up right after Bill Cosby, I'm sure. No, they're not. Whoever these characters are, they don't apply to me, and I don't think I even know them. I don't even know if I know who they are. I'm like a terrible person to ask about lyrics because I usually don't even know what they mean until the song is done. I don't know where they come from. It's just like the music happens first, and then it's just like, okay, what would kind of I kind of think about the sounds first, and then the words kind of just come in from some place. Okay. And then I have to sit back and look at it and go, what does this even mean? And sometimes I'm not sure. I know how it feels, but I'm not sure what it means exactly. So it's almost hard to analyze.
All right, so why don't I focus on the music instead of asking you a bunch of questions about the lyrics. So there is a layered simplicity on the new album where there is a stripped down version of the music of what we've heard in the past, but nevertheless there's a lot going on. You're a three-piece band. You take a lot of the recording on. You do bass, you do keyboards and guitar. Are you figuring out how are you going to take this stripped down yet highly layered music to life as a three-piece on stage?
So actually, we just did a live stream show about 2 weeks ago. For that, we actually added a second guitar player. We added a guy named Aaron, who was in a St. Louis band called Blackfast. And since he wasn't doing anything, I asked him if he wanted to come play in my dumb band. And it filled out the sound for sure. Having two guitars with the way, as you say, stripped down, the way that things are a little simplified, they're also bigger. And I think two guitars really fills that sound out a lot better, and also leaves room for me to put the guitar down and play the synths if I want to live. So that's how we did that. I don't know what it'll be like going forward. I don't know if Aaron would be able to tour with us, or if we would want to get someone else to play the second guitar. Maybe we want to get someone else to just play synths. I would love to take out some crazy 9 Inch Nails, like 9-piece band light show thing all the time if we could. Obviously we can't, but I mean, we fit with, like with anything, we figure it out as we go along. For the first time that we added synths for Future Cult, part of the problem was, how do we do this as a three-piece band? And we figure out, like, oh, you just get a sampler that the drummer triggers, or you loop stuff into pedals that you can step on, or there's a way to do it. You have a PA system. If you can have the tracks there, you could have them going. And I wondered at first if people would care that there wasn't a person on stage playing the actual synthesizer. Yeah. People don't give a shit.
Compared to the previous album where, the synths in this new album are to build atmosphere, where in the previous band, the synth was at times the main instrument.
I think it does both. I think at times, I think you can make it a main instrument and make it atmospheric at the same time. The synths just kind of do what the songs need them to do. It's not something I put a lot of thought into. It's just like, that sounds good, that works, I like the vibe. What should the guitars do with that? And I just kind of let things naturally come together in kind of an organic way. But yeah, I would say they create. I would say they're a little dialed back from the last record, so maybe they come off a little more atmospheric that way because they're not so upfront and so aggressive sounding.
I wanted to ask you real quick about, you've got the couple of beautiful posters there behind you. Somebody asked me, okay, can you describe the band? And I said, well, how in every 80s B horror movie, there's this cheesy hair metal band or hair metal song that is featured in the movie that doesn't feel right for a proper horror movie. The Lion's Daughter is what would make a lot more sense because it has that, especially the new release, that 80s horror cinematic vibe there. Is that something you would agree with, or did I just offend you immensely?
I love hearing that. I was also going to be stoked if you went the opposite direction and said that we are one of those cheesy 80s bands that would be in the movie. I'd be fine with that because I love that stuff.
How well do you look in spandex? I don't know.
I would love to find out. Follow me on Instagram. I'm sure it'll be happening any day now that you've planted that scene. Yeah, no, I've heard that a couple times before, and I think that's great. I've heard people mention like, oh, you could cut together like clips of horror movies and play it along with this record, and it works or whatever. And I think that's cool because that's I wouldn't say that we intentionally wanted to create something where you could do that, but like that's my shit, man. I love horror movies, so I think that's cool. Yeah.
If you look at like a Claudio Simonetti who did all the Dario Argento movies. When he's touring with his Goblin, he'll do exactly that, right? He'll play music, and there's like on the big screens, there's all the old horror images. Assume that you could choose whatever, like not just from a musical perspective, from a visual perspective. The new album specifically would lend itself pretty well to a pretty epic live show. What would that look like for you if you had the chance?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much.
A lot of neon, I assume.
yeah. Or also just the way that I like to just be a contrarian. I'd probably do something totally opposite than people would expect, and I'd make it all all bright white lighting or something. I don't know. Yeah, I would love to have a crazy light show and all that stuff, and I think having a screen would be really cool. There was one show that we played, it was Halloween, was it 2019 I guess, where we played somewhere. It was great because it was like, it was Halloween time and it was outdoors, and they had rented a giant LED screen, and they're like, you can show whatever you want during your set. And I was like, all right, get out of my way, because here we go. So I edited together like a half hour of clips of just stuff from Argento movies, and just all kill scenes from crazy horror movies. And it's probably my favorite show that we've ever played, because it was so much fun to look back and see that. And I'd forget that it was there, because there were probably like 400 people at this show. Like it might have been a free show, and there were some people there that maybe didn't know our band that well and that kind of stuff, because we were playing with other bands. But I would look out every once in a while, and I would see like some 22-year-old girl just staring up going, ugh, just being like horrified. And I'm like, what the fuck is she? Oh, somebody's having their eyeballs ripped out on the screen behind us. Like, that's what's going on. But that to me was so much fun.
When bands balance really well, both an extremity and a catchiness or what have you, sometimes that means that they're also like too different for any group to really understand. Like, is that something that you've already seen where, you know, the heavy sludge or death metal bands, you know, or scene thinks you're too poppy? Obviously, a pop scene might think you're too heavy. How are you dealing with that?
Surprisingly, I haven't seen any of that because, again, I've anticipated it.
Yeah.
This genre of music is very strange because in most music, you run the risk of alienating people by being too extreme, by being too loud, too heavy, too screamy, whatever. But in this music, it's the opposite, where you run the risk of losing people if you're too catchy.
Yeah.
Or if you could tap your foot too easily to something, if it's too accessible, which, I don't know, aren't songs supposed to just be songs sometimes? So I am actually very surprised that I haven't really seen many people talking shit or anything. I bet if all the vocals would have went clean or something like that, that would have probably alienated people a lot more. But I think maybe since the vocals are still aggressive and it's still dark, it's still heavy, you know. But I think the songs are just written like actual songs this time, and there's some structure. There are actually, I don't know, a couple choruses here and there.
That doesn't mean that on this album, you know, you guys only have, you know, turned things completely around. Like, for people that are looking for energetic, fast-paced music, you know, Werewolf Hospital, for example, I think is a good example. I think that's a song that will do live really well.
It's a lot of fun to play. That song's super, super fun to play. I don't think our drummer has that much fun because he's the whole time, you know. But yeah, that song. I think without a song like that on the album, I think it would feel like it was missing something.
Right.
So, you know, when something's done, I kind of like look at all the tracks, and it's like, okay, well, we have the closer, which is the chemist, which is like kind of doomy and slow and atmospheric. And then even the title track is straight up just like dance beat stuff. Neon Teeth is kind of a catchy disco song. Mm-hmm. Okay, we need a ripper. We need like this, like a fast, thrashy, kind of a Bark at the Moon riff, you know, in there to balance things out.
I'm so glad that you pinpointed that, because I was listening to that song a couple of times and I was like, it reminds me of something and I can't put my finger on it. And
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. That's 100% why it's even called Werewolf Hospital. Because when I wrote that riff, I like recorded it and I sent it to those guys, and I was just like, check it out, Bark at the Moon 2. And then I was like, let's call this song Werewolf Hospital, and we all started laughing. And I was like, no, I'm really gonna do it. I'm really just gonna call this song Werewolf Hospital and see if we can get away with it. And so far, I think we have.
And you guys have been, you know, as a stable lineup together for a long time. Often you see bands that start to experiment more. They lose members along the way that just don't feel like they are in the same, you know, mindset. So what's the secret behind your band? Is it everybody has to listen to what you do, or is everybody very much aligned to what the vision is?
I think we just trust each other.
Yeah.
And we're very honest with each other. And, you know, quickly, if I were to write anything or have any idea for something, and you know, like Scott or Eric tell me like, that's not working, man, that sucks, and be like, okay, it's not working and it must suck, so it's out. I'm not even gonna fight for it. Eric and I played together in another band before The Lion's Daughter, even for a few years, and we toured together for like 3 years straight, and he was my best friend in that band. So we definitely had we knew each other well and had the same musical language. And then Scott, I had played with in like some of my early bands as like a teenager. Scott was the guy. It's funny that he's our bass player because he taught me how to play guitar pretty much. And he's the guy that introduced me to Skinny Puppy and so much music. So we're just all really on the same page when it comes to, you know, things that we like, and we trust each other, you know, and we might all like, you know, Deathspell Omega and Portal and Mayhem, but we also like then can immediately turn that off and put on like a Weird Al record.
Based on where you had your pre-release party, if you will, I assume that all three of you are big fans of craft beer.
Yeah. Actually, it was Scott. Scott, I think, was hitting the seltzers that day, I think. But yeah. I like when it's warm out. Sure, but the day that we did that, of course, since we did it outside, it was rainy and windy and cold. So I was actually hitting a coffee stout. But yeah, Eric and I are pretty big beer drinkers. And then actually there was there's here in St. Louis, there's a brewery called Four Hands that did a Lion's Daughter beer a couple years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was well, it was only available, like it was like a limited run that was just available in town at a few places. And then we brought it back once, and then we were going to bring it back again in April for a show that we were doing, but April of 2020 was what that was. Yeah, it's cool because Four Hands are my favorite brewery in town. I think all their beers are awesome. They're really cool dudes, and they're huge supporters of local music and local metal, and they were down to make us our own beer, which is insane to me. And it was also a really good beer.
There you go. That's the most important part, obviously.
Yeah.
Hopefully, vaccinations can keep going, and good evolutions can keep going, so that touring is possible again. And then you guys have to stop, obviously, right here in Toronto, because we've got, in this neighborhood that I'm calling you from alone, there's 12 craft brewers in walking distance, and we've got about 70 in the city. So book some time to go and taste the different beers here. Rick, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Very exciting release. I think a lot of people are going to continue to talk about this release for a long time, and I can't wait to see you guys take this music on the road.
Absolutely, man. I can't say what it is yet because I can't be the one to announce it, and that's not right. But we have a tour booked in November where we are coming to Toronto. Ooh. Assuming everything goes well. We're all of us in the band are fully vaccinated. Things seem to be going in a good direction. I don't want to get too optimistic.
Sure.
But we will hopefully be seeing you in Toronto in November.
Well, if that happens, then we can catch up on how the tour is going in person, hopefully, and then we'll make sure you get to taste some of Toronto's best craft brewery lineup.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, man.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.